Hello, everybody, and today we're going to be covering a film that I said in, frankly, the last video we would be covering, and that video today is going to be about, well, Lords of Chaos. This film, I come to find out about it mostly because Val Kilmer's son, Jack Kilmer, or, sorry, yeah, Kilmer, I don't know why I think Vilmer, but anyways, Jack Kilmer is in this, and not only that, but also Rory Culkin, which, if you watched my series review for Scott Pilgrim, then you will come to realize that um, that means this is me fulfilling that thing I said I was going to do in the last video. So, in this film, Lords of Chaos, as you can see right here, I have the unrated, uncensored director's cut, and well, that's just because that's how I am. I like having the director's cuts for things. I'm one of those people. Sorry. Um. Anyways, this movie is very, very enjoyable and very fun to watch. If you're interested in something like Norwegian death metal history. Um, with that being said, this movie does get particularly dark and brutal, especially during the latter half. I mean, the whole movie itself builds itself up around that idea, but it really gets to that point um, once you hit the point of the film where Lars gets introduced into the band. Now, I know I'm jumping ahead of myself when I say this, but uh, I do think all of the actors in the film did very well. So, with all of this being said, let me begin this breakdown for y'all. So, our story begins roughly, I forget the year, okay? I do forget the year, and sadly, that's me. I forgot to watch this movie right before the review, but I did watch it about a week ago, so I am sorry for that. But, um, anyways, so our band here is called Mayhem. Mayhem are considered to be the original founders of Norwegian death metal music. Um, Now, with that being said, I am not like a huge fan of Mayhem. I heard like two songs of theirs before I ever like heard or saw this movie. Um, and then beyond that, I didn't know that the dude who plays the band Behemoth had connections with these guys. So, you know, there's a distinct connection. Anyways, um, this film, like I said, starts with our character basically starting off with his own band Mayhem. Now, as he has his own band Mayhem, uh, he does come to come to enjoy his friendship with his band members and stuff like that. And they do, if I remember correctly, they let go of a certain band member and bring in another one, played by Jack Kilmer, and his name is Dead. Now, Dead plays a very huge part in the story here of Mayhem because he plays a very important part in their first album being released. Um, Strangely, while I was watching this movie, I was kind of entertained, so much so to the point where I was like, you know what? I kind of want to see, the difference between the real version and this. So, I looked it up. I checked it out. And I mean they do pretty good. They do good. I'll say that. But there are some discrepancies like normal with any kind of movie like this or TV show. You're going to get things that aren't exactly fully true, have some merit, but not all the merit. Now, with that being said, they come across their band member Dead, and they like his act. They like how he performs on stage, and they're like, that's what we need. That's what we need for us. That way we can become big. And so Rory Culkin basically talks with Jack Kilmer's character Dead, and he's like, "Hey man, we'd love for you to join the band. We're gonna have this farm up, like up the bend, a bit." And then he essentially just agrees. He's like, yeah, okay, cool, I'll do that, but just know this is my whole thing. My whole thing's death. Like, I had a fucked up accident when I was a kid, and ever since then, it's been death. So that's basically, his character. Now, I'm not going to fully get into details with his character, but do know his character does not meet a happy ending at all. But off of that, the band does end up growing to become a bit bigger. And like I was saying a minute ago, there's a character named Lars, if I believe. Lars, who's the main singer of Behemoth, if I remember that correctly. So after, the thing that happens with Death, or Dead, after the thing that happens with Dead, they find this new band member, and they're like, basically in the movie, they present him as like a fan who starts off being like, oh yeah, man, I would love to hang out at the record shop with y'all, and I'd love to shoot the shit, and all these kind of things. And then, once he tries to do that, what ends up really happening is that the band members all start to come to figure out, like, he's not really into the scene. He wouldn't be a worthy band member. So this dude, like, studies. This dude essentially starts, like, going in and putting the effort. Like, he's sitting there listening to all the albums. He's showing up to the store all the time. He's actively going for it, basically. And then he ends up making his way into the band. Now, once he makes it into the band, our main character, Rory Culkin, he starts to, become you could tell within the film, he feels a bit threatened by Lars and his character coming in and trying to basically just kind of change the direction of Mayhem. So of course they butt heads. I mean, it's like the only thing you can do is butt heads. So they end up butting heads, and Lars ends up not really liking him anymore. He calls him a poser. He says, dude, you aren't what you say you're about. And so this is where the film really does, like, have its point of, this is how rooted they are within music history. This is how rooted they are within Norwegian history, because I didn't know about this until I watched the movie, but I did hear about these things. So if you don't know, the Norwegian church burnings are an actual event that happened. And I didn't know who they were attributed to. All I heard growing up was that, hey, church burnings are a thing. They happen in Norwegian. They happen everywhere. They happen here in the States. They happen everywhere, And so I'm like, okay, cool. And I never, really looked into church burnings, It wasn't really until I watched this movie and read the story that I come to find out that Mayhem and Lars himself, they have a huge hand into the Norwegian church burnings of the time. More Lars than Rory Culkin's character. But with that being said, it's really at this point that they both kind of have a falling out. And Lars takes what he has, and he basically goes and starts Behemoth. And then, Rory Culkin's character, I'm so sorry that I forget his name. I really do. Because it's a good movie, and it's a good story. But I forget the main character's name. But the funny thing about the whole thing is, like, they go their separate ways. And when they go their separate ways, Lars still ends up, just really obsessing over Mayhem. And I forget why exactly, but essentially he just keeps obsessing over it, and he's pissed off, not only because they cut him out from the band because he was doing the church burnings, but because he looked up to these guys. These guys are the whole reason he's in the scene. So he's frankly mad. He's very mad about it. And so when Rory Culkin's character decides to go back and well, not go back, but he basically like tries to call him, and he's like, hey man, I really want to apologize. I do feel bad, like I understand where you're coming from. He's essentially like trying to patch up the relationship, and he's trying to go about it. He's trying to go forward and be a human and things like that. And then when he goes over to Lars's house, he meets a rather brutal end um, at the hand of Lars. Now, before everybody here does ask me the question of like, oh, well, what's up with this? This is a real story. The movie, as it says, it's based on truth and lies. You can see it right there. Based on truth and lies. So that's why I'm saying, like, this movie, they are upfront with it. They're like, yeah, some of these things, they didn't happen. But when it comes to the death of Dead, the death of the main character, Rory Culkin's character, it does bother me that I forget his name. So I am so sorry about that. All respects to the person who died, but I forgot your name. And you are the main character of this story, which says something about me. So sorry about that. But basically, this movie tells a very human story. It tells it from a very human perspective. Does it sit there and sugarcoat things? No. As far as this movie goes, I would very easily call Lords of Chaos the dirt if the dirt doesn't exist, okay? Minus all the drugs. I will say that. This movie, they you see them drink a little bit. Nothing like the dirt, constant drinking. You don't really see them smoking cigarettes too much, like the dirt. But you do see some sexual shit. But this movie's definitely more on the violence. Because their story's fucked. The story of Motley Crue, while, yes, very messed up, and they have that one violent scene with a car crash, respects to them. I'm not disrespecting anybody here, but I am saying between the two films, this one is a lot heavier in violence. This story is a lot more violent than tragic. And also, just with that being said, this movie is good. This story is good. And I do feel like there are things we can learn from this story. But to finally finish off the movie, Rory Culkin's character dies at the hands of Lars, who is a leader of a band called Behemoth. And last I checked, they are still active to this day because from this whole entire case, Lars ended up going to jail. He ended up going to prison for quite some time. If I remember, they sentenced him to 15 to 20 years, and he is currently out now. He is finally out. I think he's been out for about 5 to 10 years. Don't quote me on that, people. Do not quote me on that. I'm just trying to roughly remember these things. And I know this video, it does seem very rushed. And it kind of is. I'm going to be honest. It's a little rushed because I'm trying to fulfill the promise I made in the last video that I filmed. And the thing is I filmed that video a year ago. And I am frankly going to just say, screw it. We're covering this right now. We're covering this here and today. So, yeah. That was my review of the film. It's very good. I enjoyed it. I liked the performances of everybody from freaking Rory Culkin to freaking Jack Kilmer playing a character who was in the film for like 15 to 20 minutes. I felt like it was 40, but regardless. There are times where the film does, like, even though it's about 2 hours, if I remember correctly, it doesn't say on the slip sheet. Don't you hate that? Yeah, it's just under 2 hours. It's 118 minutes, so that's an hour 58 minutes. So just under 2 hours. It does feel like it's a 2.5 hour film, though. So with that being said, that does mean that there's a spot or two where it feels like, all right, you're dragging on a bit. You could do a bit better here in your work. But yeah, I like this movie. I think it's a good movie. Is it definitely one that you should sit there and like throw on every night with your buddies while you're playing a game or something? Well, probably not. Probably not. Probably not. But is it a good movie for a movie night with your buddies and you're like, hey guys, let's be entertained while we learn something? I mean, granted, you're not going to say that outright, but you get my point. You know, you're going to be like, hey guys, you know, I heard of this really interesting story about Norwegian death metal, and I know y'all don't want to probably read about it, so bam, here's a freaking movie. Church burnings, anyone? Church burnings? And I guarantee you, by that point, your friends will either be on board or they'll be like, get the fuck out of my house. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the video today. I know it's very scatterbrained and everywhere, and it probably could have been structured a lot better, but I do appreciate all for watching. If you did watch, then thank you for watching. Your watch time and your view is very important to me. And not only that, but just the fact that you guys are here watching it right now brings me some kind of joy, because it lets me know that my content is being watched. It lets me know that I can enjoy my channel. I can try to enjoy what I make, and I can, you know, for the time being at least, cover movies and series that I enjoy. Now, granted, I will say this: if you did pay attention, very close attention, in my last video, and you are a person who watches Wendigoon, you will notice that there are some small similarities in there. I'm not saying outright that I'm ripping Wendigoon off. Now that I said that, I just realized I'm recording on an iPhone, and he outright admitted his earlier videos he was recording on iPhone. Okay, so let me be clear. I'm not ripping him off, okay? I'm really not trying to. I do like his structure, though, and I do like his content. I like what he goes with, and it's very fun and interesting to watch him talk about these things. There are so many ARGs and things that I would not have known about if Wendigoon wasn't around. So, with that being said, Wendigoon, if you ever do see this, just know I'm not trying to rip you off, man. I think you're a great content creator, and I love your content. Please don't sue me. But yeah, I hope y'all have a good day. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, like I've already said. And I'll be seeing y'all in the next one. Have a good one.